you want to wrap it up with the... Oh, right.
Okay, maybe you want to stand up and jump around. Or I know this has been a little bit of a long panel, but the discussion, I think, is very close to my heart and very important. Sitting here thinking about what I wanted to say, I started thinking about one of the rascals on the UH Manoa campus for a very, very long time. Aloha. His name was Toshi, and I don't see any old timers in the. Anybody remember the old man Toshi? No, I didn't think so. Toshi had this habit of going around and collecting objects, and people would bring him objects too. And then he would assemble them at some point on campus. As you can imagine, there were quite a few different reactions to Toshi deciding that he would collect bamboo and string and bicycle wheels and whatever found object people showed up with and construct what he called a divine computer. Now each time the old man Toshi would construct one of these computers, so-called computers, what he said, there would be a backlash. And it was such a powerful backlash. And somehow these structures would disappear in the night. Who knows exactly what happened? And Toshi became a kind of a folk hero around the campus, and the media would interview him after maybe his 7th or 8th divine computer had disappeared overnight, and Toshi would say something like, well, no big deal, 7 times down, 8 times up. The other interesting habit that and Toshi had a lot of interesting habits, but one of the other interesting habits he had was that he would measure everything. Now, I don't know if you've ever been around someone who measured everything, but it can be a little bit exasperating. We would walk through the campus and Toshi would say, he would point at a particular concrete rock or a particular sidewalk, and he'd say, well, that's a 791482. And I'd look at him like, what are you talking about, Toshi? And then sure enough, he'd pull out his ruler and he'd measure it. He'd see 74192. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of effort. And I wondered, what on earth was he really up to? And not very many people knew, but Toshi had a very mathematical mind, and he happened to have discovered the answer to unified field theory. Now, I'm not going to get into the complexities of that today, but around campus for several decades, no one realized what the old man was up to at all. Maybe he didn't even realize part of the time. But he went from measuring to building structures, and then he went from that to drawing with a compass and a straight edge, and carrying just bundles and bundles and bundles of paper around every day. Now, as you can imagine, students come and go, professors come and go, all these different things happen on the campus, and we're involved in it. We know that that's what happens. But the actual reason why the old man was doing what he was doing didn't seem to occur to most people to even ask. And I'd spent, I don't know, 15 years with the old man, and I never really bothered to ask him what he was up to. But one thing he taught me, and I think I want to leave us with this thought. When he began to construct things, his sense of measure was, as you can imagine, impeccable. He could measure and draw probably better than anyone I knew, at least within the realm that he worked in. And one of the things that he taught me was that there's a rule in mathematics called the 2x5 rule. And I kind of love this particular rule. Anybody out there? 2x5? You know what the 2x5 rule is? We go through this, and I ask this question. I teach at Peking University, and I teach on the mainland, and I ask this question over and over again. And isn't it fascinating that we never get the answer? No one knows what the 2x5 rule is. It's a pretty simple rule. When there's division, when we're divided by 2, we're actually multiplying by 5. We just didn't know it. Huh? What are you talking about? Here's what the old man taught. Take the number 143, divided by 2. You get 715. Take 143 times 5. 715. Toshi called that the first constant. And I just want to close here. There are many different things I'd really like to talk about, but it'll await another day. See if there's division around you, and you're beginning to feel division in your life. You're actually moving towards a fivefold arrangement. And I really feel in the panel and what we've done today, there's that movement towards a much richer environment in terms of the type of interaction with the whole campus, with the inclusive campus. And I'm sad that Tom had to leave, but I do understand he's the chancellor, he has other things to do. That's what I leave you with. We have the opportunity to build something really wonderful. Now, my expertise is certainly not in Hawaiian. That should be obvious to anyone. But I'm lucky to be a songwriter and a performer, and I happen to have many really wonderful friends from those experiences. And I carry that part of Hawaiian culture with me wherever I go. And if I'm in China and I'm performing on the radio, people know who I am, and they know that I'm from Hawaii, so they'll call in and ask me to play Hawaiian songs. And I think that's another fascinating thing. How many Chinese people we have that really understand a lot about our culture here. And they do understand that it's not like the rest of America. And we do have that special quality. I mean, I'm a kid who grew up about 2 blocks from here at 2128 Armstrong. And I've watched the university go through its tumultuous times, and there have been some good ones too. But I really do believe here in the 21st century, Hawaii is close to losing its edge as an international environment. And the purpose of this whole gathering for me was to remind us to wait a minute. We have something that is unique to Hawaiian culture and is unique to those of us who have been fortunate enough to come in contact with that wonderful depth, that fierce aloha. I really like that. Because I'm fierce about some of the things that I do too. I'm fierce about China-U.S. relations. I maintain there's no other thing we can do except learn to increase trust. How do we do that between China and the United States? Let me tell you, one of the things that we found is that as we increased the relationality between higher levels of the Chinese military and the U.S. military, largely here in Hawaii, we began to sync up a little better. We began to know, well, if we do this, the Chinese are going to do that. We had a sense of rapport here in Hawaii that we weren't able to develop in Washington, D.C., that we weren't able to develop in Beijing. And I think that's the bottom line for me. As a China-U.S. relations guy, someone who spends half of my life in China and working at Peking University in Tsinghua, even if I'm on the mainland, I can't get away from it. I run into many, many, many professors who want to talk to me about these issues. So take that to the bank. When you're in a divisive state, look for the fivefold arrangement that's there. And I would like to say one more thing. I'm absolutely humbled to even be sitting here on a panel like this, because my background isn't in this area. But I felt intuitively that it was a very important dialogue, and Maya supported me in that. And I appreciate that you all came out and had the time to sit here with us and digest a little bit of this. And I especially want to thank everyone on the panel, because I know we don't agree on everything, and I certainly know that it's easy to misunderstand each other. But I do know this: something really wonderful happened to my heart today. And I just thank you all for that, I really do. It's been a long time since I've had that feeling in my heart. So, if I've made mistakes along the way, please forgive me. But if I did anything right, it's just the fact that here we are. Wow. And I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to all of you and Maya for that. Mahalo. We're going to let you guys, if you want to wander off or whatever, we do have some people that are going to come up and dance and do different things. So if you want to stick around, please stick around. We'll open up the mic to questions, and you can stand up or jump around if you want to. Anybody? Questions? Thoughts?